Good evening, everybody. This is the Pup here for my midweek analysis. And this evening, I'm going to be going over a bunch of stocks, but I thought it also would be a good opportunity to go over some Bitcoin and Ethereum. Bitcoin is breaking out over all-time highs, and it seems like the interest has been rising. So taking a look at the daily chart, you can see we are in a breakout territory here over this 20,882 level. I think, I've seen a lot of analysts calling for 30,000. I have a 27,684 as my next major Fibonacci extension. Naturally, there are going to be levels in between, but I think for technical analysis purposes, I do think this is a big moment for Bitcoin. Been waiting 2.5 years, give or take, for us to get back to this point. So let's take a quick look at Ethereum. Ethereum moving along with Bitcoin, but also a bit of a laggard. So we're going to wait to see if Ethereum does push up. I do have some price target projections of around $800 to $850 on this move. Obviously, chart is not pulling up. Not sure what's going on here. Let me just refresh. There we go. And so yeah, you saw we had a nice break of this wedge here. There we go. So we had a symmetrical triangle, or an ascending triangle forming here. We had a symmetrical wedge breakout, which brought us into a ascending triangle. Sorry. But it looks like 689 would be our 300 extension. I'm looking more at this 3812 here at 814. I think ultimately that's where we're headed. So let's see what Ethereum does in the time being. Next up is AVTR. So I've had this on my watch list. I do like this channel that we are forming here. So you can see we are making a series of higher highs and higher lows in our channel. And we are coming to a breakout level over this 2775. So should we get a breakout, watch for a bounce off the high channel, maybe a retest, and then a go up for $30 as our next target. Next up is BABA. So I have been watching BABA. BABA did give me an EMA 520 EMA crossover on the 30 minutes. And you could see we did get into this bounce zone here, kind of a double bottom forming. So I want to see some more constructive movement out of BABA. I do think the risk to reward here is actually pretty decent. If you were to take a trade here at 261, keep a stop loss under 250, maybe at 248.50 or 249. But the reward is back to 300. Now, of course, it's going to take some time. But if you are playing shares, I think this is a good risk to reward entry. If you were playing options, maybe the 270s, 1 to 2 months out can work. Next up is CRSR. This is Corsair Gaming. So you can see we have broken our primary downtrend line right here, and we are still holding our up channel from the recent IPO here in September. So one thing I'm looking at here is this optimal buy zone right at a volume shelf anchored to the day right after IPO. So I am starting to add shares in this zone, using them a stop loss under the channel and under our previous low here at around 32.50. And obviously the reward would be back to all-time highs here around $52. Next up is Datadog. I've been buying contracts for Datadog. I had the 105s for today, and I have the 107s for next week. But it does look like the dog is showing some really good relative strength. You could see we are in a nice channel here on the daily. And I fully expect if we hold over 103.50, which we are, and we did close over today, we should start making our way up to this 111 level. That's my next major target. And then ultimately back up to around 118, which was our all-time high. Next up is DraftKings. Sorry for all the lines, but we've got a lot of things going on. Let me delete some of these Fibonacci extensions. We had a nice symmetry pullback. So what I'm looking for in symmetry are symmetrical moves. So we have a swing high, swing low here. I tap this to this swing high here, and that symmetrical move would bring us right down to 45.57. We did get an entry just above that, and now we're moving up to this key 53.80 level. So 53.76, I think, was the level that I was watching. We did get a nice close over that today. I have been adding to my 55 calls for 115. Looks like if we can continue to maintain this 53.50 level, we should head higher in the coming days and weeks. So looking really good. You could see over our swing high anchored VWAP, we broke out and we retested and we've bounced. So this is looking really good here for DKNG. Next up is FSLY. So FSLY has been very constructive over the last month or so. You could see making a series of higher highs and higher lows. We've had some trouble at this $87 level, but ultimately I'm not going to touch long-term entries until over 103. But you can take day trades between this level here at 95 upwards to 100 and then over 100 to 103. Ultimately, I want to see this over 103. And then after that, you could see we have this really big, if I could turn the gap snake on, you could see we've got this really big gap up here. So price can really accelerate pretty quickly once we enter the gap. Next up is GoPro. I haven't spoken about this company in years. I own some GoPro cameras. I do like the company. I like the hardware. Software is actually pretty good as well. But man, this company really fell off the face of the earth. If we go to the weekly chart, you can see if I pull back a bit, man, we were pretty good up there. I think this was in the $50s and $60 range. But wow, look at how the mighty have fallen. And this is a case of just an IPO gone bad. So let's go back to the daily chart. So what I am seeing is some constructive movements here. We are making higher lows and higher highs. So I think there's a trade here over $9, maybe to $10 and upwards of $12. I wouldn't put, a big position on this. I think just given the state of where this is, I don't like trading personally stocks under $20, but if this is your cup of tea, I think GoPro looks pretty good. Next up is Home. This is At Home. They sell home furnishing and just things around the home. Kind of like a smaller scale Kohl's, if you wanna say that. So anyway, we are setting up in a symmetrical wedge. We did get a 65-minute EMA crossover here. So what I'm waiting for is a break over this gap up anchored VWAP and then ultimately a break of this down trend line, possibly around $18. And then I would look for targets at around 20 and then 22.50 on Home, but it does look pretty good. NIO also looks like we may have bottomed here, like a little bit of a double bottom. You could see I've anchored my VWAP here from this previous low when we started to break out. And this anchored VWAP here has been a point of support. So you could see we've tapped here, 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 and now again here, and we're bouncing up. So I think this is a simple trade. You can take this trade in the $42 to $44 range. Keep a stop loss under this anchored VWAP, which currently sits at $39. And then ultimately my target would be right back to all-time highs around $55 to $57. Next up is Overstock, OSTK. This is a pure crypto play. It has kind of decoupled itself from Bitcoin in recent months. But I do think that once this gets over 67.50, we do have this inverse head and shoulders forming here. A safer trade would be over 72, but I think for quicker day trades, you can catch, at least 5 to 7 points over 67.50. So keep an eye on Overstock to continue to move up. Next up is Palantir. So this is a beautiful case of the anchored VWAP handoff. So we have our IPO anchored VWAP here. We had a test and break above, which handed it off to this lows anchored VWAP here. And then finally, when price came back down to test this anchored VWAP, we now have another anchored VWAP handoff. So it seems like we are just closing on top of this anchored VWAP. So we do want to be careful, but what I am seeing is a symmetrical wedge forming here. So, this is something I would just keep an eye on. Again, if we break below, I would say if we break below 24.20, I would wait for this to come down possibly to 22.28 and then possibly to $20 to $18 down there. So, but I do like this. If we could get back over this anchored VWAP, I do think we could start making our way back up to 30 and then 32. And then last but not least, my favorite setup, which I have been loading the boat on, is Rocket. Literally, Rocket is ready to rocket. The one obstacle I am waiting for is this IPO anchored VWAP right here. We had a nice breakout yesterday, a retest today. We're holding this 2250 level. Ultimately, I want to see this over 23.25. I think over 23.25, we start to make our way up. I would be looking at targets of 26.50, 29.50, and then back to all-time highs here at 33.74. Sorry, 34.24. So, hope you've enjoyed the midweek review. We've got a lot of things going on. If you have any questions, feel free to ping me on Twitter or make a comment below. And have a great evening, and we'll catch you tomorrow in the markets.